guys, it's Allie and welcome back to my channel. Everyone's doing their favorites and least favorites, so why not? I'm gonna do it too. This is kind of going to be a two-part video, this being part one, my most favorite and surprising reads of 2016, and then the other part will be my most hated and shit books, so yep. So let's talk about my most surprising reads of 2016. These are books that maybe I wasn't anticipating on liking, but really did. They might not necessarily be books that I loved, but they definitely took me by surprise by how much I like them. So first one I am going to talk about is The Martian. This took me by surprise because I'm not really a big sci-fi person. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to follow it, and the storyline was just like, seemed like it wasn't going to be that interesting to me. However, I really enjoyed this book, and I thought that Mark Watney was one of the best characters that I've read about in a long time. I really enjoyed the storyline, and I loved all the scientific knowledge that went into it. I liked that it wasn't necessarily too complicated to follow because pea brain. I really enjoyed it. The next one is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, because I had seen a lot of people talking about this and how much they liked it. However, I was a little iffy to pick it up because you guys know, like, contemporary isn't really my thing, and romance novels just tend to they fall for me. Like 9 times out of 10, they don't do it for me. So I was even more worried as I got into it, because it is about this girl who becomes this caretaker, and she doesn't want to be a caretaker to this man who is paralyzed. He's an asshole to her, and she tries and tries and tries, and that's basically what the first half of the book is about. And I was like, dear God, this is slow. However, I was already invested in the characters for the most part, and I wanted to see what was going to happen, so I continue on. The second half is definitely more interesting. It is about their friendship and the nice things that they do for each other, and about some of the things that he is contemplating, and just about her growth, and I really enjoyed it. I bawled like a baby, and it was such a great read. The next is Uncertain Choice, and I was a little worried about this because literally no one has talked about it ever. It's about this princess who has been told that she has to become a nun, basically. However, there are these princes that show up, and they decide they are going to compete for her love, even though she has been told time and time again that she has to become a nun. However, they are then told that she is allowed to marry someone or fall in love before she turns 19, and she doesn't have to become a nun. It's confusing. I really enjoyed it. It was much more action-packed than I thought it was going to be. I really liked the characters. There is a lot of gruesomeness near the end, which I wasn't expecting and really enjoyed, and I loved it. The next is Book of Ivy, and you guys will know that I loved this book. So this is a dystopian novel, and it is about like the downfall, and there are these two families that found like this little city, and they make it into like their own little habitat kind of deal. They have these walls, and they don't want to access the outside world, and they're just repopulating. So there are arranged marriages to make sure that this world is getting repopulated. The Westfalls and the Latimers have been fighting. They are the two founding families. However, they pick a president, and the Latimers become president over the Westfalls. Unfortunately, that means that the Westfall girl has to marry the Latimer boy, and in a strange arranged marriage, they basically meet each other that day, and then they have to go live in a house. They're married and they have to go live in a house. It's way more complex than that, and there are a lot of like morally gray things happening. It is a question about whether or not like females should have a say in who they get to marry, and a lot of the positions that they're placed in the government that is there. There are talks about what's humane and what's not when it comes to torturing people and basically punishing them. There are a lot of like complex thoughts in this, and I like the way that the two main characters kind of discuss the different options instead of just like getting mad at each other for things. They have like adult conversations about them. You guys know I have a full review on this, and I love this series so much, so Then is the Winter's Trilogy, mostly the Winter's Curse. I put this off for the longest time because it looks so cheesy. Anything with a girl in a dress on the front, I'm just like, why? Oh, I didn't think I was going to like it. However, it is about a girl who is the daughter of like the war general, and she buys a slave and ends up basically becoming friends and, you know, love and trust with the slave, and then a war breaks out and shit just, it hits the fan, man. It was way better and more high-paced than I expected, and I really enjoyed it, and I love the series. And then the last surprising book that I have is The Way I Used to Be, and this storyline isn't necessarily like all that great or original. However, it is about a girl who is raped, and it's about her kind of going through high school, trying to accept that and the different challenges that she faces and the different ways that she tries to like control what has happened to her. The book was way more heartbreaking than I expected. I just felt so emotionally connected to the book, and just it just ripped me apart, and just everything about it was way better than what I thought it was going to be. And I still think about it, even though at the time I was like, this is whatever, but I still think about it all the time now. Good drink of my coffee, guys. Then we have some of my favorite reads, and I'm not gonna go into too much detail about these. A lot of these are pretty popular reads on here, so you probably heard me talk about them before. Some of my standalone faves were Witch at Blackbird Pond, which was recommended to me by Vanessa over at Paper Fairy, and I love that book so much I can't stop thinking about it. As well as Salt to the Sea, which is about like World War II and these people kind of trying to escape, and it's just so good. As well as The Heartbreak Museum, and this is like a YA romance that is all really cute. As for new series that I really liked, I'm going with Fallen Kingdoms. You guys know I am obsessed with this series now, and I binge read everything that has been published so far this year. As well as the Raven Boys cycle, I've only read the first one, but I really enjoyed it. I think it is a really unique storyline, and I think the characters are really different. I read the last in the Fifth Wave series, which is The Last Star, and I really enjoyed this. Fifth Wave is one of my favorite trilogies, and I just love that everything felt like it came full circle at the end, and just that whole series. I also really liked Dark Days Club. It was a much slower pace, but the world is pretty complex, and first of all, I just love anything that takes place in like, I don't know, it takes place in like the 1800s, and there's demons, and that's like my favorite combination of all time. Plus I got Lord Carlston out of it, so. And of course I also read Empire Storms, which I really enjoyed. The Throne of Glass series is one of my favorites. It's problematic, I know, and I still love it. So I really enjoyed that. I have 2 copies. That's how much I liked it. Now I'm going to tell you guys my top 3 all-time favorite books that I read in 2016. I don't even know if I can give these in order, because I just love them all so much. So the first one I'm going to tell you guys is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, and I know I'm really late on that one because like everyone was talking about that one like 2 years ago, but I finally read it even though I didn't really plan on it, and dear God, that whole book was just amazing. I love the quirky writing style. I love how different the characters are and how artistic they are, and I like that it wasn't like a YA romance necessarily. It was more about family relationships than anything, and I don't normally tend to like those, but I really enjoyed this, and just overall amazing read. The next is Six of Crows. You guys know that I am obsessed with this duology. I really want a Six of Crows tattoo now because Kaz and Inej and just that whole gang are just my babies, and just that I felt like that world was more complex than I originally thought it was going to be. I like that the characters are all extremely morally gray. I'm not even sure if they're morally gray. They're just bad people most of the time, but they have like good reasoning behind it. I think that Inej is overall like my favorite character of the whole year because she is just such a kick-ass person and just who I would want to be in life. But this was just like so well done and so well explained. It just amazing. Leigh Bardugo does it again. My favorite read was A Court of Mist and Fury. Like, who saw that coming? Really? Was so immersed into this book, and just I tabbed all the different places and I went on and I just like found all the theories I could find on it afterwards, because Court of Thorns and Roses was okay, but A Court of Mist and Fury was amazing, and I love Rhys and how complex he is, and he's a feminist, okay? I just love that cast of characters. I love that storyline. I love everything that's happening, and just best read ever. I wanted to immediately reread it like 3 times in a row after that. That's how much I loved it, and I never like reread anything. Whew! Those were more of my favorite reads. I hope that you guys have liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe to see future videos from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!